I apologize for the lack of updates on the channel, but I've been very busy with my day job and that left very little time to work on these videos that are very time consuming. In fact, I had to stop work on what was going to be the next video on the channel to make this one because this is something that everyone that wants to know what really happens in Portugal should know. If you've been following my channel since the beginning, you'll know that my very first videos were about the miserable state of the justice system in Portugal, if you can even call it a justice system. It's absolutely corrupt, politically motivated, and follows something that socialists have been known to say from time to time. In Portuguese, para os amigos tudo, para os inimigos nada, para os restantes aplique-se a lei. Which roughly translated means, for my friends everything, for my enemies nothing, and for everyone else apply the law. Since the laws in Portugal are essentially created by the socialists because they are in power for many more years than anyone else, essentially the law is applied only when the socialists want it to be. And this is clear with the recent examples that I covered in this channel, like César Vieira that should have been fired from his position in the government for breaking a law, yet not only was he not fired, he was actually promoted to minister by the Prime Minister António Costa. And this happened with the support of the Constitutional Court that said that César Vieira acted in good faith when he said he didn't know that the law that he broke existed. I can guarantee you that anyone else that isn't the personal friend of António Costa, like César Vieira is, will not get the lenience of the Constitutional Court or any other court after claiming that they did not know the law that they just broke. Or when the Prime Minister himself, António Costa, stated for everyone to see and hear that he will not follow Portugal's law regarding the illegal businesses being made by family members of the socialist government with the Portuguese state. This was the last straw, in fact, that made me clearly identify Portugal as a dictatorship, because only in dictatorships do the people in power break the laws of the country, brag about it in public, and do not even get a single consequence from it. But this is how the socialists have always worked, and there are many examples of the quote I mentioned above in the past. One that is forgotten and rarely mentioned is what happened to Rui Mateus. Rui Mateus dared to expose what the Socialist Party really is in his book, Contos Proibidos, As Memórias de PS Desconhecido. And that is that the Socialist Party is a mafia-like organization and does everything to get its way. Rui Mateus' book was removed from circulation after all copies were apparently bought by the Mário Soares Foundation, a foundation that was, and probably still is, fully funded by the Portuguese state and was created by the founding father of the Portuguese Socialist Party, Mário Soares. The book was never re-edited again and can only be found in digital format because someone that was able to buy the book at the time was kind enough to share it. The book doesn't just expose what the Socialist Party is, it also dares to expose how rotten the Portuguese justice system is. Rui Mateus was never seen again in public life after the book was published, and the book itself was literally banned from existence in Portugal. This was one of the first examples I knew about of the complete control of the Socialist Party of all institutions in Portugal. This was in 1996, almost 30 years ago. All this Orwellian behavior by the socialists has been ramping up, especially in the last 25 years, and it reached insane levels with the election of José Sócrates in 2005 with a little help from the at the time president Jorge Sampaio, a socialist of course, that fired the previous government that had a clear majority in parliament because he didn't like the prime minister at the time, Pedro Santana Lopes. The control of all institutions and especially the media and justice system made sure that Sócrates had no opposition and would only get praise from everyone that talked about him. In fact, any journalists that dared to criticize José Sócrates or his government would get punished, which is exactly what happened to Manuela Moura Guedes that had her show cancelled due to pressure from the socialists. This also meant that José Sócrates was free to change laws to proceed with his criminal actions, something that, for example, helped him move lots of money to suit his needs. While in government, José Sócrates was untouchable, and only after bankrupting the country in 2011 was he removed from office, and the investigation of his crimes actually proceeded as it should have, and it culminated in his arrest in 2014. The investigation was named Operação Marquês. The judge that issued this warrant for the arrest of José Sócrates was Carlos Alexandre, a judge known to be attached to these big cases involving powerful people, and José Sócrates' propaganda machine, with a little help from the Socialist Party, immediately made several hit pieces on the judge, with the media making sure that José Sócrates had all the attention. In Portugal, a judge can determine if a certain case goes to trial. We call it instruction phase, and the judge handling this phase will call witnesses, look at the evidence gathered during the investigation, and determine which crimes should or should not go to trial. It's in this phase that the accused can see the accusations against them confirmed or dismissed, but it's not yet a trial. If the judge decides to dismiss all claims against the accused, then no trial will even happen. And this is exactly what José Sócrates' defense requested, to go to the instruction phase and determine if Sócrates even goes to trial. The selection of which judge would take the instruction phase was hilarious, because the powers that be said it would be random and by means of a computer program. Also, only 2 judges were part of the selection, Carlos Alexandre and Ivo Rosa. Supposedly, this computer program takes into consideration the cases that each judge has in his hands and assigns the instruction phase to a judge based on that criteria. But of course, no one ever had access to this program to determine if that's really the case. But why was it hilarious? Well, because when the time came to make the selection, this program failed to do so 4 times for whatever reason. And when it finally returned the name, it was Ivo Rosa, to great joy of the defense of José Sócrates and Sócrates himself, because that's exactly who they wanted. But why are they so pleased to have Ivo Rosa? Well, first of all, he's not Carlos Alexandre, a judge that wasn't lenient to powerful figures in the past. Second, and most important of all, Ivo Rosa has a very bad track record in his decisions, and many of those decisions that are appealed to other courts get reverted. Some of those examples actually include the fact that Ivo Rosa has literally set free a Moroccan terrorist that was recruiting for ISIS in Portugal. Fortunately, that decision was reverted by another court. Ivo Rosa has also sided with powerful figures in government and big companies to not allow access to their emails in the course of an investigation. Fortunately, and again, this was also reverted. So Ivo Rosa is the perfect judge for José Sócrates because he is a puppet for the establishment. Much like the socialists themselves, the laws of the country are irrelevant for Ivo Rosa, and what matters is his personal ideology and whatever those in the establishment want or need of him. And that's exactly what happened on the 9th of April of 2021. Ivo Rosa decided to dismiss every single corruption crime claimed against José Sócrates, and Sócrates will only go to trial on smaller crimes. In fact, out of 31 crimes that Sócrates was accused of, only 6 remain and will go to trial. This was actually a prediction I made years ago and reposted it before the 9th of April. I made this prediction when Ivo Rosa was selected to handle the instruction phase, and the prediction was that he was going to remove all crimes with possible high prison sentences from the case, and José Sócrates would only go to trial with minor crimes with lower prison sentences. What happened on the 9th of April confirmed the first part of my prediction. But I also predicted that José Sócrates would go to trial for these minor crimes and would actually be convicted of them, but with no prison sentence, which is something we call pena suspensa. Essentially, it was proved beyond a reasonable doubt that someone committed the crimes they were accused of, but they have no consequence for it. The second part of my prediction will have to wait until the trial is over to be confirmed, and I have no doubts that it will be confirmed unless this decision by Ivo Rosa is reverted, which may still happen given just how bad Ivo Rosa's track record is. However, José Sócrates is not a Moroccan terrorist. He is a socialist, and thus there are other powers that will make sure that Ivo Rosa's decision is not reverted in this case. Much like Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa and António Costa made sure that Manuel Vicente would not get any trial in Portugal, the country where he committed his crimes. There is a public petition to request the removal of Ivo Rosa from his position, given his outrageous records and bad decisions that literally endanger the Portuguese people because he is setting free terrorists onto the streets. And that of course also includes the recent decision regarding José Sócrates' case. But this is another example of how disconnected the Portuguese people are from reality. They believe that from their chair at home they can sign a petition and are doing something to end the corruption that plagues this country to its core. But that's not true. And to make it worse, when the time comes to vote, the vast majority stays at home, doesn't care about anything, and just leaves the fanatics that will always vote for the same people decide the future of their country. And of course, those that voted for the same people will guarantee that António Costa or José Sócrates are elected again and again, which also guarantees that judges like Ivo Rosa will always remain in their position, because in Portugal there is no separation of powers and the justice system is very much controlled by the political system, as we've seen with the Casa Pia case, as we've seen with the Manuel Vicente case, as we are now seeing with José Sócrates case, and many other examples in the past that always end in the same way. The corrupt and corruptors will not get a single consequence for their crimes, and in fact those that dared to accuse the corrupt and corruptors will be shamed and requested to resign from their positions, which is exactly what the media has been doing ever since Ivo Rosa decided to remove all serious crimes from the list of crimes that are going to trial. The justice system in Portugal is non-existent, and much like other institutions in Portugal, it exists only to make people think there is justice. But what really happens is the quote I mentioned in the very beginning of this video. It's punishment for thee, but not for me. It's the complete corruption and politicization of a system that should be blind in regards to who is being accused and just act based on the laws of the country. But this is not new, and I've been covering this ever since the inception of this channel, going back many years in Portugal's history to show how corrupt the system is, and it's just getting worse. And those to blame are the Portuguese themselves. A vast majority doesn't care about the reality of their country and just signs public petitions to help ease their conscience, but does nothing to actually change the rotten state of this country. And when the people of a country do nothing to change it, they are either too stupid to do so or actually want it to remain the same. I hope you like this, and I'll see you next time.